is like the day-to-day life of an airline pilot? So like, what does your month look like?
Basically, I'm bidding for my schedule. So what happens is, on the captain list, I'm about 300 of the 400 total captains. So I'm a junior captain where I'm at. So what that means is, if I'm, 301, 300 guys above me are going to get whatever schedule they want. And when it comes to me, I'll get what's left over. Yeah. So, the first guy will pick, second guy will pick, and all the way down until it gets to me. If I pick something that the rest of the 300 guys got, well, it's not available anymore. I don't know that because I just got to put my bid down and hope for the best. Yep. So once you do that, I prioritize days off. So I try to get at least 18 days off a month is my goal. And then when that happens, if I could get 18 days, I find all the lines I have to 18 days, and then I'll put the days that I want to work. Like I'll sort them in, working Sunday, Monday, Tuesday PMs, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then after a few days, it's about 6 days, the bid will be awarded. So it's a little bit more complicated for me because I'm a junior guy. There's actually two bids. So there's the first bid, and then there's the secondary bid or the blank line bid. I'm in the blank line bid, and what that does is, so out of the first bid, everybody gets awarded their stuff. Military pools get taken out, so the trips that people are going to be on military duty, they pull those and put them in a pot. Guys that are taking vacation, they're going to pull those and put them in a pot. Training, they pull those, put them in a pot. They reconstructed different lines out of them. So another month. And then they'll put those out for the blank lines. So I'm on the blank lines. I'm about middle of the pack on that. So I'll do the same thing. I'll bid again. It's another bid, and I'll find out exactly what schedule I get.
Okay, so they put out what's available, and then you bid on it. Is that how it works?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so the available trips, you're like, oh, I want that. And do you have to put like multiple choices or something?
You do. I have to bid. Technically, I have to bid for my primary bid 300 times, although I don't. I know what's junior, so I'll put the blank lines on there. I'll get a blank line, and then my order of priority is within my bid. So when I get my blank line, I know I'm 50 out of 100 blank lines. And it's just like the primary bid, the original bid, just with a smaller number of pilots and a smaller number of schedules.
Okay, so then you bid on it. Then how soon in advance do you get your schedule?
That secondary one is probably within 3 days.
3 days, so you don't know what you're doing or where you're going.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Just like you check your schedule and you're like, oh crap, I gotta go.
That's the benefit of doing the primary lines. And like, if I did a primary line, I would hold a very not nice schedule, and it would be reserve most likely.
What does that mean? What's a reserve? What's like flying reserve?
Reserve is essentially I am covering any sick calls, any last minute changes, any weather delays or something, and they need to pull another crew because that crew is not legal, because of their duty day. So what they'll do is I'm essentially like a fireman. I'm sitting on call at home.
Where is that? Is it at home?
It's at home.
For you, it's at home because you're in Phoenix.
Yeah, because I'm in Phoenix.
And you're a hub.
Commuting.
So how is it if you're commuting?
Oh, and I did that. I was commuting to Vegas on ETOPS reserve. So I was doing the Hawaii stuff. So I would fly in. I actually flew my airplane into Henderson, Nevada, got a hotel close by, and you're paying for the hotel because I'm based there. I had to provide my own lodging. So I'm sitting in a hotel, and I'm waiting for that phone to ring saying, hey, Ernie, we have a trip for you. Here's what you're doing. And I have sat a few 4-day blocks, because there are 3 to 4 day blocks of reserve. I've sat the entire reserve, not got called, paid for a hotel for 4 days. Although,
but you get paid, right?
But I get paid.
Do you get paid full time to sit on reserve?
Yep, you get paid full time.
Okay.
Full bid schedule.
So you get paid. So if you're at your duty station, so if like Phoenix is your hub,
right,
and you can sit at home on reserve, you get paid full time to sit at home and do nothing.
Correct.
Okay.
If you do nothing, it's a great deal.
But it's possible that you get called up to fly.
The airlines are different. Our airline, you're most likely to get used.
Okay, so it's high likelihood that you'll get called.
Now, I have a good friend at Delta. He sits reserve on the wide body in Seattle. That dude never gets called.
My buddy in Delta says he never gets called on reserve. So
he's just kind of hanging out.
He's not like drinking beers or anything, but he just never is
Right.
getting called. He knows how to game the system.
Yep.
Because he's a senior captain. He's got a like on a very specific airframe. So it's unlikely that it's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
So.
That's not the case for us. If you get a day off, you've won. We call it a win, because if you're sitting a 4-day reserve block, you didn't get used the first day. Most likely, you're going to get used for 3 days on the last. And and it varies depending on what's happening. As far as the timing. The first part of the year, it's very slow. People don't typically travel a lot, so there's a lot of opportunity to, guys aren't getting used. So
And what can somebody expect? So the schedule, you get it like pretty soon before you go. Then you're sitting reserve. You're kind of paid like that. And then on a trip, what's a typical trip? And then what is that life like? Like, what are you packing? Where are you staying? Like, what's that like?
So I'll talk. My last trip, I bid PM, so the PM schedule, afternoon typically, and the schedule that I bid was, and this is unusual. My first day, I didn't show until 5 o'clock in the evening, and I just flew one leg from Phoenix to Salt Lake City. It's about an hour and 20 minutes up the road, and I was done. And I, went to the hotel. So with days like that, I look at where I'm going to be. I ask Alexa on, hey, what's the weather like in this town and that town, and I pack appropriately. I'm super boring on my overnights. I work out, I eat, and I sleep. That's basically it. I work on business a lot on my overnights, but I typically don't leave my room unless I'm going to the gym and maybe, going downstairs with the FO in the evening or the crew and grabbing a dinner. But during the next morning, which is when we have most of the time off, I'm working out, then I'm working on the laptop.
Do you know where you're staying? Does the company just book all that?
The company books all that.
So they pay for the hotel. Yep. What about the food?
The food, you get paid per diem. So, and typically what I'll do is I use a meal prep company that Icon Meals, if you guys are wondering. They're a great company based in Dallas. They'll ship out food to you, and it's all macroed out.
Yep.
So I'll pack 3 of those meals, because that's all my little food bag will support. And I'll try to get by eating those. I have protein shakes, and then I'll go down for breakfast, which is my big favorite.
Yep.
So I'll have eggs and that kind of stuff, and then eat my meal preps for the rest of the time.
So per diem, they just deposit that into your account. It's in your check. So it's not use or lose.
It's not use or lose.
So you get your meal prep, then you can just get the money for the per diem.
That's it. Yeah,
bump it
that's
up.
it.
Cool.
So you're not paying. You get per diem for your meals. They're paying for your hotel. So the second day I woke up, that was our. You're gonna. Nothing in life is free. You're gonna pay for it sooner or later. So for us. That first day was easy day. The second day we paid for it. It was, I think, a 11-hour, 10-hour duty day, and we flew 4 legs. It was on the West Coast. Weather was great, so not a big deal. I think we ended up in. I'm sorry. It was West Coast flying until the last leg. We did San Jose, I believe, to Dallas.
Same plane or different planes? Same plane. So you get to keep the plane.
That's the great thing about our company is it doesn't happen a lot, but they will swap out your plane from time to time. But most likely you're taking the same plane.
That's nice.
Just kind of going around.
That's
so
great.
You only have to build your nest once, and it's kind of great.
Yeah.
There are times where you're going to have to do more of that. But second day, I ended up in Dallas. Had a long Dallas overnight. Actually went up to headquarters, did some stuff with them for a little bit. And that's not typical. But you have a ton of time to get your rest, but go out and explore too. I've been kind of bad on that, and I had Paul on for My Layover Life. He's a United guy that goes out and just documents basically his life, and especially the overnight life. So I had him on. He was talking about it. It got me juiced again to go out, because I was, in the beginning, I was always going out, and then I just kind of settled in this phase of really going out and exploring, just kind of going to the gym, eat, and then go to bed or work on whatever.
You're probably working on your business now. This is a different phase of life, too. I found that, too.
No,
I would do that. We'd go on cross countries all the time for the military. When I was a flight instructor, we did cross country every weekend when I was young. And then after that, I went to test pilot school, came back, started getting in real estate. I took all my downtime and I just put it into the houses and learning my craft. And so, it's just a different phase of life, I think. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see some of those cities, but I don't know. I feel like if I work hard now, then I can see whatever I want then.
100%.
So, a lot of these people are, spending the money that they're making by going out on the town, drinking too much, feeling hungover the next day. Like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. No,
I don't
that's
have time for any of that.
100%.
So that was the military life for me for years and years.
Yep.
So, and now you got my kids do not have any sympathy for me. Like, I stopped drinking 9 years ago when my son was born, and I know that like I can't be like, hey, leave me alone, I'm hungover. Like, they don't care.
Right.
They're waking up at 7 regardless of what day it is.
Correct.
So, that's so really you get almost half of your month at home and half of your month working if you're not on reserve.
Right.
And so a lot of the airline pilots that I talk to, they say they actually have a really good kind of family life and dynamic. As long as they don't mind living out of a hotel in between, they're home a lot.
Yeah, that it's hard to leave home, but when I'm home, I am home, right?
Yeah.
So there's no, like if you had I call it a normal job, 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
You're working Monday through Friday, and you have the weekends off. Well, I work 3 days out of the week, and the rest of the time I'm home.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a business, I could do something else. As you know, owning a business, that occupies a ton of time. So, but the lifestyle of an airline pilot is very conducive to cultivating a side hustle, investing. There's a lot of guys that just do real estate investing on the side, and as they go into different cities, Nashville's a big one. We just announced that as a base.
Yep.
It's actually opening, I think, next month. There's a lot of guys coming down here, and there's a lot of guys really getting into the real estate game.
Yep.
Because you work half the month, and you're making good money, and it's just, I think the airline lifestyle, it's not for everybody because you are away and you do spend time away from home. But I think it's the time that when you are home, what do you do with that time? That difference, because it's a ton of time.
Yep. I always think about it's not the quantity of time that we spend; it's the quality of that time. Because there's many times that I was home all the time, but I was like, my kids would have to say my name like 3 times before, like I was just somewhere else.
Yeah.
I was constantly like, I had business on my mind, all this stuff, and even my wife would tell me, she's like, yeah, you're here, but you're not here.
Yeah.
And so I really had to change that a few years ago to understand that I just got to put things away. I got to put the phone down. I got to unplug from that. These hours are really golden time for the family. I think it's really important, regardless of how much time you spend there, because they really just want your attention.
Yep.
Family, spouses, kids.
And I still struggle with that.
Me too.
My wife has to remind me, hey, look, like you're always on that phone. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Got to put it down. You got to find that balance. But then your partner has to be, hold you accountable to that. My wife holds me accountable to that. She's like, hey, you've been gone a lot, or you've been on the phone a lot. You're like not home very much, even though you're off. You're not flying your airline job. So.
Yeah, it definitely is it's always a work in progress, but I think us accepting and understanding that that's going on is really important. And
being receptive to the criticism too.
Totally.
Like she's totally right. She's 100% right.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes I have that conversation with myself in my head, and I say that she's right in my head, but I never actually tell her that she's right.
Yeah.
So there's that piece too that I struggle with as well. I guess the other thing that I'm interested in is maybe how much money does an airline pilot make, like an entry-level FO all the way up to like a really seasoned captain? Like, what can somebody expect as far as range goes?
Yeah, so I think we just got a new pay scale and with our new contract, and I think everybody jokes they dubbed it the FO contract.
Oh yeah,
because
they got a bump and the captains didn't get as much or something.
Yeah, they got more of a bump because we were losing a lot of junior guys, so they wanted to take care of that, be competitive, so that they can retain, because it's super expensive to lose a pilot.
For sure.
All the training and all that. So they wanted to make sure to retain them. Now, I'm going to say we got a great pay raise too as captains. So I would say a new person coming into Southwest right now could easily make 6 figures the first year. Just not doing. And here's a difference too between Southwest and a lot of the other airlines. I have no limit on how much I could work up to the FAA minimums, and the company provides a buffer to that. So, my buddies at American, they get their monthly bid. It's 80 credits or whatever it is, 83 credits for the month. And the way it works is it's not beneficial to them to work more to get paid more because of how their structure is. I don't know it 100%, but that's just kind of the generality that they told me. For us, my daughter was in college. She's flying, so it was expensive. I was working extra to shove extra cash her way to pay for some of that flying and her living expenses. So there's an opportunity to make more money there. So you can't just look at what the minimum guarantee is for us. You have to look that our average pilots are flying about 115 trips for pay. So we pay in trips for pay, which is equal to, there's some formula on that. It's not equating to an hour exactly. I think it's 1.14. So there's a conversion factor in there. But what that essentially means is you can pick up extra, make a little bit more. The first year guys probably in the 150 range.
Okay.
You're probably, I just flew with an FO. I think he's been here 3 years. He's in the 200s.
Okay. And what about captain?
Captains, I would say.
What's the top? Like people making 500K?
There's guys making almost $1 million.
Almost $1 million a year.
And they're, again, we can work as much as we can up to the limit, and these guys find every way. They're senior, so they can pick up premium, they could drop, they could do this. I would say the average.
They know the game.
They know the game.
Yep.
Oh, they were masters.
It is a game. Like there's a way to maximize the pay.
Correct.
For the lifestyle.
And they know how to do it. Yep. Now I will say those guys work a lot, but I mean they're getting paid a good amount. I would say the average captain probably makes about $400 to $500 a year.
But the problem with it is it's all taxed.
It is.
So if you're making $1 million and you're an airline pilot, you need to talk to Big Earn about how to get into the real estate deals.
Right.
Talk to me.
To Bill, that's for sure.
Like, put your mind to work,
right.
Because you're making that much money, you're getting tax heavy.
You're getting tax heavy. It's my CPA told me you are in the worst position because of that W-2 pay raise. Now I'm super grateful. I have a great job that pays me great money and a great retirement. But when you really start trying to master the game of business, a large part of that game is how do you legally pay the least amount of taxes.
Yep. Definitely being an entrepreneur and a business owner is favored in the tax code.
100%.
Is your wife employed?
She owns her own private school.
She does.
So she's an entrepreneur as well.
Cool. Because that's the best way and easiest way for an airline pilot who's watching this that makes a lot of money to offset their active income with passive losses is to have their spouse become a real estate professional.
All right, I've heard
So if their spouse can be a real estate professional, then all of the losses that they do with their investments with bonus depreciation and depreciation can be offset against their active income. So that's the coup de grace, is to get that real estate professional status, and you can get it. It doesn't have to be you. It can be your spouse. So a lot of the entrepreneurs that I know that I work with, when their spouse doesn't work at all, we're able to figure out how to make their spouse a real estate pro. They just have to work a certain number of hours. It has to be over 50% of their time that they spend in business, and there's an opportunity for them. So that would be the biggest recommendation, is go research that if you're watching this and wondering how you can do that and offset taxes. So, because I've been blessed to not pay taxes for the last 5 years. So being an airline pilot and a corporate pilot, I'm sure you see some interesting things have happened. You probably had some emergencies or, I don't know, some things that have happened during a flight. Does anything come to mind? Like, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen when flying?
I will say the craziest, and this is probably an emergency that I had, and it was an emergency. It was the first emergency I had on the Citation 10. I was fresh out. It was my first day on the airplane. So I always talk about show up to training prepared, learn as much as you can, because when you don't know when these emergencies are going to come. That was the lesson that I learned from that. So, and I went to school. I studied as hard as I could. I felt very comfortable in the airplane, although I'd never flown the real airplane. So I did not. I never flew the airplane. I flew it in the sim, and it was my first trip. I was on IOE, Initial Operating Experience. So we're in Santa Barbara. We're going to take this couple to, I think it was San Francisco, short flight. So we take off. The weather is bad. It's just low ceilings, no thunderstorms, no convective activity. It's just low ceilings, wet runway, and Citation 10 loves runway. So we take off. And I remember going, wow, I think it was the second leg of the day. So we take off out of Santa Barbara. The captain says, gear up. I grab the gear, I put it up, and I hear a thump in my feet. and I felt it. And I knew, like, I only flew one leg in the airplane, but I knew that wasn't right. I'm like, that's weird. Okay, contact departure. We go to departure. Check on with departure. We get the first chime, master warning or master caution. I'm like, we're checking on. There's the whole sequence was a perfect setup on distractions and everything, because you got a master caution going off. You're talking to approach or departure. You're trying to get on the departure routing. So I check in and I said, we have and I forget, it was a hydraulic issue. So I think we had a low quantity on there. And then all of a sudden it went to a master warning that, hey, your hydraulics are overheating. So there's a PTU on the A side. So there's two systems, A side and B side. The A side has a PTU, which is a pump that will pump up the B side if there's hydraulic fluid in there. If there's not, that PTU runs, and then it'll cannibalize itself.
Yeah, burn out.
Right. So this was something that they actually improved in the checklist, because we were test pilots that day, because the way the checklist ran, we did not get to that PTU circuit breaker to pull until several steps down in the deal.
Yeah.
So, we're climbing up. We're like, captain's like, hey, let's try to go back into Santa Barbara, even though we have to shoot the ILS. We still have one full system going. Controls are great.
The hydraulics in that airplane are all systems critical. It's not just like in this plane, hydraulics, gear. Yeah, if anything. So like the T6 that I flew, it was just gear. Like no hydraulic systems.
Right.
So, but if you lose the hydraulics in a H60, you're a lawn dart.
Right.
Like you cannot move the controls at all without hydraulics. We have 3 systems. So just so people that are listening, it's an emergency because you can't turn the airplane in that thing, or maybe you can. It's just really difficult.
You can. It's very difficult.
You cannot in a helicopter. There's no possible way. A full hydraulic failure, you can't even put. You don't have enough muscle to push the force in.
Yeah. So we take off. We're running the checklist. We're getting to it, and we get a double chime. A side overheat. So we had a B side overheat, A side overheat. So we're going to go, like I'm reading the checklist to him, and the captain even looked at me and goes, we have to shut it down, because we had to shut down the the B side. So, I'm running the checklist, and I said, it's A system depressurized. He looks at me and goes, depressurize the A system? I go, that's what it says right here. It says it's depressurized. He's like, we're going to have no hydraulics. So we depressurize it, and for a minute there, he didn't say anything, but he was working really hard because it was just starting to get in that reversion mode.
Yep.
And later he admitted to me, he goes, dude, I thought we were going to crash in the ocean.
Yep.
That's how bad it was. So we end up running the checklist. We figure out, hey, with both systems gone, we need a long runway. Santa Barbara's not going to be in. So, by the way, our slats, the Citation 10 has slats that come down. Those didn't retract.
They were still down from the takeoff. Oh, wow.
So we didn't really get all our flaps up. So we had, I forget.
That could have been something you could have looked at and seen, hey, something's wrong, very early on. But you're task saturated in the beginning. You're calling departure. You're thinking about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not.
That was the most task saturated I'd ever been in an airplane.
Yeah.
That little sequence there.
Easy to happen, isn't it?
Oh, easy, especially on departure. Like that's the critical phase for something bad to happen. So we get up, we run the numbers, we can't land there, we got to go to a bigger runway. Well, there's a system around SoCal that all the runways or all the airports are basically IFR, except for Long Beach, which is farther south. So we're like, hey, we have to go to Long Beach, 10,000-foot runway, we can land, we've got the landing data, we've got all that stuff. So we're heading down to Long Beach. The controllers were awesome. They're like, hey, we got Point Magoo there, their visibility's down to 2 miles and all that. We're like, look, we need a VFR airport. So we carried on. They're descending us and giving us big wide patterns because he's having trouble, flying the airplane. And of course, we get a TA because there's all these general aviation airplanes.
Yep, and that's a hit on a TCAS system. So it's saying, hey, there's an aircraft close, and there's instructions that commercial pilots and people that if they get a TA or an RA, they have to do. So like a maneuver that you're required to fly if you get a TA or an RA. So a hit that there's another close airplane. So I just want to explain it because
Yeah.
Me and you know what that is, but
no, that's true.
people that
Very
are
true.
watching are like, what's
Very
a TA?
true.
I have no idea.
Yep. It'll command you to climb or descend on there, and at a certain feet per minute. So we couldn't do any of that. We were just like, we just got to plug through.
Tell the other guy to move because we're not moving. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of these general aviation airplanes, they're VFRs, so they're probably not talking to anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a little stressful on that. We eventually got the airplane down, landed, got the passengers off. They were super grateful.
This was a chartered.
This was a chartered flight.
And you're flying all around. You got a hydraulic malfunction. It's your first day flying.
Oh my day flying the airplane.
Wow.
And we got off the airplane. We got everybody off, and you could just see the hydraulic fluid all under the underbelly. So what had happened was a coupler in the nose gear blew off, and it was sprayed hydraulic fluid all over the place.
Is that thump that you felt at the feet?
Yep.
Because it's right there in the nose gear. And
that was the thump. And then they changed the procedure for the PTU circuit breaker to be pulled earlier in the checklist. So that was
because of that. Because of that. Wow. So you gave the feedback. Hey, this is what happened. They did the analysis, and wow, that's wild. All right, let's do a little lightning round now.
Okay.
So, what is the best place that you've ever flown to as an airline pilot? Like, what's your favorite stop that you've ever made?
I love Hawaii.
Hawaii? Specifically where?
Anywhere on the island. I have really, really fell in love with Kona.
Okay.
I love the Big Island. I love I really like that lifestyle up there.
What's your favorite plane you've ever flown?
Oh, that's hard. I always joke, I'm a lover of all planes. Like, I love, if it has wings and an engine, I want to get in it and check it out. But I would say my first airplane was a C-5, and I loved the C-5. I loved flying it. It was so big, but it was so, you could fly it with your fingertips. It was a great airplane to fly cross-country around the world like we did.
What's the worst place you've ever flown to? Like, what's your least favorite stop that you've ever made?
Least favorite stop. It's funny. There's a big joke because, at Southwest we fly to Midland and we fly to, some of these smaller towns that are like kind of out of the way. This is where I go back to, it is all about the people you're with. Because even though it may be an undesirable overnight for bidding or whatever, people are like, oh, I don't want to go to El Paso or whatever. I've had the best time at some of these locations because of the people. So I can't really say like the location. For me, if it doesn't have a good gym, I kind of rate it low. Like, that's my preference, right? It has to have a good gym.
Well, what hotel has the best gym then?
Oh, Reno, Peppermill, hands down.
Reno, okay. Yep. What spot and hotel has the worst gym? All the other ones?
I would say, the Holiday Inns, to be honest, they need to up their game on the gym count.
There we go. I hope they watch
We don't stay at very many Holiday Inns, but the ones that we do stay at, that was always going to the gym down the way and paying $20 to do a day pass.
Nice. What's the best piece of aviation advice you've ever gotten?
Attitude. Attitude will get you farther than aptitude.
Nice. What's the worst piece of aviation advice you've ever gotten?
Oh, any stock advice from a pilot?
Talking
to you, Kelly. I'm kidding.
What's next for you in aviation? Like, what is some of your goals and dreams? What do you want to do next?
I'm just grateful for what I got to do so far. I didn't get a pilot slot right off the bat in ROTC, and it was on me because I didn't put in the work. I was going to Arizona State, and I had a good time at Arizona State. I didn't focus on my grades, and it showed. So I would say just getting to pilot training and being able to do what I do right now has been an absolute gift, and I'm very thankful for that. And I really have no more aspirations. Like, people ask if I'm going to be a check airman or anything, chief pilot. I really don't. I really want to pour into a new business venture, real estate. I love my companies of the aviation companies. I'm cultivating that, but I think I also want to get into the real estate space. I'm really passionate about that, and I think that's going to be the next big venture I go on.
All right, Big Ern, how can people find out more information about you? They want to follow you, they want to check it. Like, really, definitely plug your YouTube channel because I know you have a lot of videos on there about aviation and how they can get into the airlines and all that stuff. So, how can people get a hold of you and watch what you're doing?
Yeah, if you go on YouTube, it's Flying with Big Ern, E-R-N. And I have an Instagram account, Flying with Big Ern as well. We're not really big on some of the other channels. I think we do have a TikTok, but we're not really active on that or Facebook. But those are the two big channels that we're on. Try to provide content and inspire people to get into aviation. So we'd love to have you over.
Awesome. Flying with Big Ern. We'll link everything in the description. And, man, I had such a good time. What do you think?
How was it? This is great. I love it. This is first time in a TBM, and I'm sold.
So, we didn't even go up high. We didn't even get pressurized. We didn't even do 310.
I know.
You know, we're doing that 400 knots. So is this is next for you?
This would be awesome.
Sell the Cirrus and get a TBM. Man.
I would love to.
It's time. And then you can tell all the other Cirrus pilots that the TBM's better than the Vision Jet. Thanks for being here. I had such a good time with Ernie talking about aviation, and we'll see you on the next video.